should, not ought to, but have to. Every time, not some, not most, not a lot, not quite a few. A lot of power in that sentence. Every time that conflict with the safety or the effectiveness of our fellowship. It means that we must, not should, not could, not ought to, sometimes love our society more than ourselves. Wow. I'm going to go ahead and read that first sentence again because there's a period after that. And Bill knew where to put the periods, knew where to put the comma, knew where to put the hyphen. And there's a period after this. It says, take tradition 1. It says AA's common welfare comes first. Period. There's no yeah buts, no explaining, and I think, and I want, yeah, no. Period. Nothing more, nothing less, nothing else. A lot of power in that one little paragraph right there, isn't it? Page 67. Beautiful story about this talk that he did down in Memphis, I think it is, off the top of my head. Tradition talk stressed in Memphis, October of 1947. And obviously we're going to highlight this in the first sentence. It says, urging all members of Alcoholics Anonymous. Not some, not most, not a lot, not quite a few. Now you're going to really start to see how Bill, there is no guesswork on what we're doing here. He uses the words that he needs to use to get the point across. Urging all members of Alcoholics Anonymous to strive, oh man, that H word, I am getting sick now. Humility before success. Uh-oh. Success is a byproduct thereof. Remember what I was talking about? That's what it is. Humility first, then success. That's individually, that's as a group, that's as the whole fellowship. Okay? And, this word again, unity before fame. Next paragraph. It says, pointing out that the success of AA could be a heady whine and serious problem, quote. Bill reminds members that as alcoholics, quote, we are people who could not exist at all except for the grace of God. So remember, he brings it back. Your sobriety isn't yours. Mine ain't mine, it's God's. I take no credit for it. I'm the lucky recipient of it. It ain't mine, it's God's gift. But you know what? That precious gift is, like I said, is a matter of life and death. If you receive the priceless gift that you can't get, something that you treasure, I'll speak for myself. I want to keep it shiny, I want to keep it new, and I want to give it away to keep it. Last sentence on that. He goes on to say, yes, there remains a problem. There does remain a problem. A serious problem. In whose solution AA's excessive ulcers to occasionally take hand. That problem is of success. Now, damn it, 1947, and he already knew that success is our biggest problem. Powerful, powerful, powerful. It's not our greatest asset, it's our biggest problem. Remember, in Alcoholics Anonymous, things are paradoxical, things are backwards. Who would have thought? In the normal thing, that would be no, but in Alcoholics Anonymous, yes. It goes on to say, always, not sometimes, not most, not a lot, always a heady whine success may sometimes cause us to forget that each of us lives on borrowed time. Uh-oh. I guess our common welfare does come first because I'm living on borrowed time and so are you. And by the way, Alcoholics Anonymous, and I don't mean this any disrespect, I've had a lot of loved ones go to hospice and go. Alcoholics Anonymous is not hospice. We're not holding each other hands, singing Kumbaya, waiting to die. It's about a living program here and about happy, joyous, and free and getting into the game of life. This is a game of living, and AA teaches us how to die, and I've had a lot of people. AA not only teaches us how to live, but it teaches us to die. I've had a lot of great examples. But anyhow, he goes on. We're living on borrowed time. We may forget that there are people who cannot exist at all but for the grace of God. Brings it right back again. Okay? The wine of forgetfulness makes us dream that Alcoholics Anonymous was our success rather than God's will. I get it. The very malignancy which tore us apart personally could again commence to rend us as groups. How did he know that back in 47? Skip to the next paragraph. Therefore, many of us think today the main problem of Alcoholics Anonymous is this. How as a movement shall we maintain, our humility, so our unity. Remember we talked about that. Can't have this without the other. And obviously, it's God's deal, okay? So he goes on to say, in the face of the world what calls a great triumph, perhaps we need not look far afield for an answer. We need to adapt and apply our group life, those principles which each of us have found in his own recovery. Here's why we need that H word. If humility can expel the obsession to drink alcohol, which it does, it did, and it will, then surely humility can be our antidote for that subtle wine called success. I get it. So in other words, what's needed for personal sobriety and recovery, I got to have in the traditions for maintaining, continuing, and improving that emotional sobriety. I get it. Bill then went on to explain details of 12 points of tradition. Skip the next one, and it says, to sum up our experience of living and working together, this is another definition of the traditions, that I shall try to state those definite principles of group conduct. Definite. There's no guesswork, okay? Which then quite clearly emerged from a decade of strenuous trial and error again, okay? In spite of our original 12 steps, and strictly within ample proofs of our experience, keyword again, I made the following tentative attempt, 12 points to assure our future and Alcoholics Anonymous tradition of relations. Here's what I said. Recently revised in the light of later of our experience, and he always talks about, our AA experience has taught us that. And once again, please remember those 3 levels of relations that he was talking about. Okay, and then on page 70, the last paragraph, where it says, page 70, last paragraph, to sum up, for thousands of alcoholics yet to come, AA does have an answer. Beautiful. But there is one condition. Oh, that's right. There's nothing free. Even in God's economy, nothing's wasted. So AA has an answer, but there's a hook. Here's what it is. We must, not should, not could, not ought to, at all costs, not some, not a lot, not quite a few, but all costs, preserve our essential unity. That's the missing E word. What does that mean? That means I got to have it. See, it's not just unity. It's powerful. It's essential. Powerful, powerful, powerful. Okay, essential unity. It must be made unbreakably secure. Without permanent, I forgot one. 2 P's. Wow. Without permanent unity, there can be little lasting recovery for anyone. Hence, our future absolutely, that means have to, depends on the creation and observance of sound group tradition. First things will always, not sometimes, need to be first. And by the way, that's God. Humility before success and unity before fame. A lot of power in what he's writing here. Just a lot of power. Okay, we're getting there. Now, how do we get this? On page 167, talks about how we do this. It's the S word that really kind of sucks. I mean, it's sacrifice, yeah. It's the third paragraph where it says AA is a fellowship, page 167. So this is how we get humility. That's how we get the unity in the types of that, okay? As a fellowship, we shall always, damn him, not sometimes, not most, not a lot, not quite a few, but always need to make whatever sacrifices are necessary to ensure AA's unity, 12 traditions, service, 12 concepts, and survival under any condition whatever. Not some conditions, not most, not a lot, but any condition. Sacrifice. Do you know what our 12th tradition says? It's about sacrifice. So, Bill has a unique way of writing. In step 1, he established what the problem is. Powerless over alcohol. That our life's unmanageable. The other 11 tell us what to do to get that. The 12 traditions, he did it backwards. He tells us what the solution is. Got to have that. And the other 11 traditions are what we don't do so we don't destroy that. It's backwards of the 12 steps. Absolutely fascinating. So the rest of these traditions will tell us what we don't do so we don't screw that up. Because without that, what did he say? There's no AA. We're screwed. We're dead. We're drunk. Drunk, dead, however you want to do it. Absolutely fascinating. It's backwards of the 12 steps. He states the solution first, whereas in steps he states the problem, powerless over alcohol. It's absolutely fascinating how it's backwards. So it says under condition whatsoever. So we go this on sacrifice a little bit more. Bill's last words were people would come up and gush. In fact, Bill was a tragic hero. If you know what that means, it's somebody that's a hero but had a tragic life. And Bill was a tragic hero of all of us. He created Alcoholics Anonymous in a society, but he couldn't become part of it. That poor guy, he didn't want to be a founder. He wanted to be like me and you. But he couldn't be in the society that he created with the 12 steps, the 12 traditions, and 12 concepts. He wanted it so bad. He and Lois, they gave up so many things that we know about, and probably so many things that we don't know about because of this. And the new person coming in, and he knew about this deal called Alcoholics Anonymous was God's deal. And it just blows my mind. And you can see the gift that he was given to write all this back in the 40s. Absolutely fascinating. So Bill's last words were, when people would come up, oh, Bill, what can I do? What can I do? Whatever. He'd always say this. Pass it on. That's all. Just pass it on. So I say, let's pass it on through this, called the language of the heart in 12 traditions. In one of Bill's last talks, he said, I salute you and I thank you for your lives. And he always wanted to give the credit where the credit is due. And Dr. Bob was good about this too. Worshiping the Creator, not the creation. Looking for the giver, not the gifts. And looking for the blesser and not the blessings. Back to that humility point where he always talks about that this is God's deal and God's deal alone. And by his grace and by our great fortune, our misfortune used to be a curse, but has turned out to be our biggest blessing. Here we sit tonight. So if we can close up tonight, thank you for being here. Excited, thrilled to go through this again, and hopefully we will see you next week. Thanks again. If we can close with the Lord's Prayer.